It's Phantasy Star Portable 2 from Sega for the Sony PSP. The storyline takes place 3 years after the events in Phantasy Star Universe. You're playing as mercenaries. The ancients seem to be coming back. It's up to you to save the universe, and of course you've got to create a character, give them a funny haircut, strange name, level them up by slaughtering billions of enemies, finding new weapons, and playing Phantasy Star Portable 2 forever on your Sony PSP, another action-packed adventure JRPG-style game on the PSP. The game console of choice these days for JRPGs. You can take them with you and grind away on the bus or on the train. That's like 95% of the fun in these games. I could take or leave the storyline. I just like to level the characters up and slaughter things with all kinds of cool weapons.
You are the weekend, and you are in the offices of Little Wing.
Ah, interesting voice dialogue.
Yes?
Yes, you are a mercenary working for Little Wing. And for the first several hours of the game, you'll be learning the storyline and playing through tutorials explaining the complexities in Phantasy Star Portable 2. Which, for what it's worth, has excellent tutorials to get you started, because this game can be pretty deep if you want it to be. There's numerous character classes, and a seemingly endless array of armor and weapon possibilities, many of which are upgradable and can be modified with various attributes, and there's like a dozen different weapons classes. There's a lot going on in Phantasy Star Portable 2, and is easily fun enough to spend many hours hacking and slashing your way through the Gurhal system. It's a catchy game, and like many of these JRPGs, it starts your character out extremely weak, but once you figure out the ins and outs of the gameplay and play a few missions over and over again, you'll rapidly level them up, get some weapons, get some armor. Money's pretty easy to come by, and then take on the main storyline. There's several different types of missions in the game, many of which you can play through on an easy level, and then play later as your character levels up on a harder level, where you really rack up some experience points. Very addictive, and if you get killed off halfway through a mission, some of which take 10 or 20 minutes, you'll retain the experience points you earned prior to being slaughtered. Always a nice touch. I hate losing experience points. Even when my character is set on fire, eaten, and thrown off a cliff, I feel like they should retain their experience. You'll encounter end bosses from time to time, and as you can see, Phantasy Star Portable 2 looks awesome. The game is generally very playable for long periods of time, and as you challenge harder and harder enemies, the combat becomes quite tricky. It's not just a hack and slash grinder, although much of the game is. You'll find that you use every single button on your PSP. You'll spend much of your time locking onto enemies with your front left button. This is one of those games that really could have used dual analog sticks. And especially when fighting enemies in the air, it can be a bit awkward at times. And there's a few end bosses that were definitely made more complicated by the controls than they needed to be. But that's forgivable because in general, Phantasy Star Portable 2 plays like a breeze. Half the fun in this game, to me at least, was experimenting with a wide variety of weaponry. And as my character, Disco 8-Track, levels up, I could assign experience to various weapon classes and then use more powerful weapons in those specific classes. And playing repeatedly through levels on increasingly harder levels of difficulty was also pretty rewarding, because while you'll frequently be fighting many of the same enemies over and over again, they become much harder and much more aggressive, and even though your character is becoming more powerful, the challenge of the game seems to keep up with it, keeping things interesting. Nice cutscenes. I actually got my characters so powerful from repeatedly playing earlier missions on a harder difficulty setting that I just walked through several of the storyline missions, killing enemies by just whispering sweet nothings at them. You know how it is, you get your characters so powerful that you merely point at enemies and say, "You die!" And they do. Because they respect you. There's an online component to Phantasy Star Portable 2. You can play the game online, you can play with friends. You even have an apartment in your little wing spaceship that you can decorate if you really feel the need to do that. You can also buy new outfits, and there's other missions you can accept. There's really no shortage of things to do and things to keep you busy in Phantasy Star Portable 2. I enjoy playing these games because I actually find them relaxing to just run around and slaughter things and level characters up, playing with new weapons. Others may find the storyline more engaging. It's certainly well made, it has high production value. It's Phantasy Star Portable 2 from Sega. My favorite Phantasy Star is still the second one on the Genesis, though. That game was awesome.